Hello and welcome everybody to our Pipeline Industries Guild PDN Development Diaries. As you can see, I have got Josef Yates here, who I'll ask to do a fuller introduction of themselves in the moment, and me, Sarah Clinkard, who is the education lead for the Pipeline Industries Guild. So, Josef, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know where you currently work?
Yeah, no problem, Sarah. So, hi everyone. My name is Joe Yates. I'm a landowner liaison advisor working for Cadent Gas.
First thing is, how soon after joining the pipeline industry did you get involved with the guild, and what led to that first connection?
So, for me, leading to joining the Pipeline Industries Guild, I entered into a competition in 2023, which was the Eastern Paper Competition, which was held in Market Harborough at the Fish Urban office, and I'd had no interaction with the Pipeline Industries Guild before. I'd heard a bit about them, a bit of advertisement here and there around Cadent and its associated offices at the time. But I was asked by a mentor of mine at the time to put myself forward to do a presentation. Got a bit sort of fearful at first, really, because I'm not from an engineering background. I'm not from a technical background and technical standpoint as such. So I was like, I didn't really know what I could offer. Obviously working for Cadent for quite some time at that time, but didn't really know what I could offer. So entered into the competition, talking about how we can safeguard customers in vulnerable situations, and by offering them services beyond the meter, offering them extra support when things are getting a little bit tougher, especially in this sort of economic climate. And we were just coming out of COVID at the time as well. And surprise, I came second. So I didn't come first place, but came second place, which was great. I wasn't even expecting to come any place, to be quite honest. And to come second place was really good. I really enjoyed the atmosphere of the event, which was with like-minded pipeline people, getting to network with people who had vast experience within their respective industries, whether that be water, gas, supply chain, and all these different sorts of sub-industries which we have within the pipeline industry. And I just felt like it was something which I wanted to be a part of. And I then inquired with the Eastern chair at the time to go along to a couple of their meetings. And I really liked the atmosphere. And then I just said, like, how do we sort of get involved in this more? And then that led to me from being a branch member to being the deputy chair of the Eastern PDN branch. And then subsequently, a succession has sort of continued throughout the years. The chair stepped down and asked me would I consider putting myself forward to be the chair of the Eastern branch, and that's currently the position I'm currently fulfilling at the moment. So kind of got into it by chance. But got into it with a full mind as well, knowing what benefits it could have, not just for me, but seeing other people develop and doing well within their respective branches is really inspiring.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So if I go back just a step about how you actually got into the pipeline industry in the first place, and what did that first role involve, and did it meet your expectations?
So for my first ever job in the pipeline industry, I was employed on the agency through, we were called National Grid at the time. We're now called Cadent Gas, but we were under the umbrella of National Grid at the time. And I was employed by the agency for which National Grid had incumbent at the time, to be a call handler for the Northern Ireland Gas Emergency Service, and also dispatching jobs for them as well. So that was a pretty different experience for me, because I was only used. I was in between jobs at the time. I wasn't really. I didn't really have a full career at that stage. I didn't have like an everlasting career. I didn't really have a career prospect at the time either, to be quite honest. So when I joined National Grid, as we were called, I didn't really know what to expect, really. I didn't know what to expect, whether it to be a fulfilling career, whether I was going to enjoy it. I was in between hospitality jobs at the time, so I really wasn't sure how to react to this really new environment, office environment, reactive environment. Wasn't really sure how that was going to work. So, but when I sort of got into the shift patterns, started making great connections with with our teams in Northern Ireland, we essentially looked after two GDNs, gas distribution networks, over in Northern Ireland on a contractual basis, who are called Phoenix Energy and Thermos Energy, who I believe are members of the Pipeline Industries Guild, to my knowledge. Obviously, I didn't know that at the time. And if a customer called in and they called in a gas emergency, I would then raise the job and get an engineer out as soon as possible to that job to investigate the concern which the customer was reporting, and to feel a sense of you are helping people on a day-to-day basis, and you are potentially stopping any emergencies from happening, and safeguarding life and property, just from a desk in Leicestershire, when it's affecting quite a big scale across the Irish Sea, quite literally. Felt really good to me. It felt really I felt really honoured to be able to do that, and at the same time made some fantastic connections who really helped me in my early days navigate the gas industry, navigate what the industry was all about, where we were sort of going, the history of the gas industry, where we're looking to ourselves, where we're looking in the future. And even expanding the network as well. At the time in Northern Ireland, they were expanding their gas distribution network. But that also enabled me to look at careers elsewhere within the company and consider, okay, but Cadent is a huge business. I've been doing that job for around about 2 years at the time. It was probably about time for me to explore different career opportunities, and it really enabled me to think outside the box. What experience can I use to go forward into my next position? So, yeah, it was a real it was a time where I didn't realise I'll be making one of the best decisions of my life, and that's changing careers, getting myself into the pipeline industry, and sort of following suit from what a lot of people in the local area where I was living at the time were doing, which was actually working for National Grid. And from someone that staunchly would say, don't think that career's for me, don't think it's something I want to do, to being here nearly 9 years later. So that's it was a great thing, and I'm pleased that I made that big step at the time.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much. So thinking back then to, did school or university, any kind of placement, did you ever think you would be in this industry? And if not, okay.
No,
yeah.
Definitely not.
So I think you've covered that quite a bit. So can I go on to then your career in terms of what was that role, that first one that was it the first one that you did that work with Northern Ireland Gas, or?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so what was that role called? So
that was essentially called a Northern Ireland Gas Emergency Call Handler and Dispatcher, which is quite a mouthful, pardon me.
Yeah.
But that's what we were known as. We were known as the Northern Ireland Gas Emergency Team, and that's what we did. We handled calls, incoming calls from members of the public over there. We raised the gas emergency jobs on their behalf, and obviously dispatched them to engineers. And we saw that job all the way from the birth of the job, so the inception of the job, all the way to completion. So you felt like you were part of that job every single step of the way, whether that was just a routine call, safety check, customers was concerned about their gas supply, to full-scale incidents where gas mains were either hit or severed, or supply was disrupted to thousands of homes. We were a pivotal part of that process. I mean, one incident which really sort of sticks out in my mind is, people may remember the Beast of the East situation a few years ago. I think it was around 2017, 2018, and me and a colleague were coordinating the engineering resource from our desk, at a very, very reactive time where we'd never seen anything like that before. I think we were forecasted maybe to take 200 calls, and I think we took over 4,000 calls. It was just so unprecedented, and it was something we didn't think would would happen, but it did. And and it was really great to see that, even though there was a bit of ocean separating me and my team members, and obviously the folks over in Northern Ireland, but we all really came together as a team and looked out for each other and supported each other where we could, and that really gave me a great sense of teamwork and a great sense of achievement, and it gave me a real fulfillment to be a member of the pipeline industry and to keep pushing forward, really.
Oh, brilliant. And how did that, what did you move on to then in terms of roles? So you had that for however long, and then what did you move into to get where you are now?
So I was there for roughly 2 years, excuse me, and then I moved on to be a quotations consultant, which was essentially quoting household customers for new gas supplies, gas pipe alterations and disconnections. So moved on to doing that for roughly around 2 years. So that was inquiry coming from the customer. They wanted to apply for a new connection. They wanted to have gas in their properties. They wanted to move their meter or move the associated pipe work due to an extension or ongoing renovation project, which they may have been doing. Or obviously people wanted to disconnect completely from the gas supply, whether that is generally out of choice or out because they were doing a demolition to build a new property. We were at that point there where they come to. They couldn't come to anybody else. Cadent owns the pipe work, so we were the people that they had to come and engage with. So I was one of the members of the team who was driving the customer service from the front. So from when we actually ran the customer back when they'd made an inquiry, really sort of putting your Cadent customer service hat on, being there for the customer, explaining how the process worked, how the regulations worked. If there was any small possibility or small chance that he might make a complaint or did make a complaint, we'd be the people to try and mitigate that as quickly as we could. But also just seeing through as well operations as best as we could, especially for those who are more vulnerable than say what I am. So that was always really fulfilling. I remember on numerous occasions, people would come to us and say, look, this is for a disabled family member. They desperately need this gas supply in because they're coming back in from hospital. You do everything you can to make that happen. And again, that's by building relationships with operations, with your surveyors, with your team, and also with your direct managers as well, to try and work as a team to get that push through. So yeah, I did that for 2 years, and that was it was a really fulfilling job. And after that, moved into doing a project role just before COVID happened. And obviously we didn't know COVID was going to happen at the time, and it was how we actually, as a business, how we safeguard vulnerable customers on our network, so customers who are living in vulnerable situations. So at Cadent, we have a RIO plan every year, and that's essentially a document which we commit to Ofgem to say we're going to deliver each over the course of 5 years. And it was my job to work with a team to deliver Cadent's vulnerability strategy over the course of that 5 years, essentially. So I help support Open Centres for Warmth, which is a warm space for people to come into to get energy and income advice, to get some income maximisation advice, and generally just to have a bit of a warm space to have a conversation. To be quite honest. So I helped Cadent sponsor them, and also implementing our services beyond the meter program. So that was essentially where if a customer who's registered onto our priority services register or has these needs codes, if they had those needs codes, should I say, if they had displayed these vulnerabilities, we could, if they had their gas turned off due to an emergency, they could be entitled for us to go back and do a more thorough investigation on how that leak has occurred or how that carbon monoxide leak has occurred. And we had specially trained operatives, and I helped support training these people to get them out to do that. So that process has now grown twofold, which is fantastic, from being maybe 3 jobs over the course of 5 weeks to now being jobs every week, and there's now engineers across all our networks doing that work, and the team is still working really hard to to push that across all of our networks and across the industry, which is great. So to be a part of the start of that and to really sort of see that go from strength to strength is absolutely brilliant, to be honest. Do you still want to continue, Sarah, talking about my...
So that was your third role, and then
yes, that's my third role.
How did you get in, and then is it the next one the current one, or?
No, so I've been with Cadent for 9 years. I've had a variety of different jobs, but after my third job, I moved into more central operational role, where as a customer liaison officer. So essentially, where it was to enhance the customer experience across the East of England network, and that was using insights, going into different depots and doing team talks and looking at engineers' performance and strategizing ways to improve performance on a bit of a more of an ad hoc basis, really, and more of a personable basis as well, because you're your own network, you have the freedom to be able to come up with ways to do that. So that was great to be able to sort of come up with training strategies and how to make our customer service better, or just implementing those brilliant basics across the network to deliver a really good customer service. So that was a really fulfilling role, and that was something which I wanted to do for a long time. And then moving into the job I'm doing now, I now work in the operational land team, where I support land officers, or land surveyors, as they're probably more commonly known, on how we safeguard our assets in private land. So if we have a gas pipe which is in private land, we have to make sure we have all the details of the associated landowner. Make sure we have their contact details up to date, make sure that they're aware of the gas main, and also if they're planning to do any works around that gas pipe, that they know where to do that work. Do they know how to make us aware of when and where they're planning to do that works? Because we are ultimately, again, it's that safeguarding life and property mantra which we sort of live by within Cadent. Because if they did hit a intermediate or high pressure gas pipe, which 9 times out of 10 we deal with within our team, if they hit that and they didn't let us know that they were doing any works, it could be catastrophic to the point where we could actually lose life. And we could be losing supply to thousands upon thousands of properties, due to one sever. So it's down to our team to make sure that we're aware of, we're keeping those records up to date of who those landowners are. Are we keeping up to date of, have we got the all the rights in place to be able to actually do that work? And are we advising our operational colleagues correctly for the work that they want to do in their land, to ensure that everyone has a fair way of doing things within that realm. So that's my current role at the moment. So working in the operational land team to sort of safeguard our intermediate and high pressure gas pipes, and essentially safeguarding the network to ensure that we have the rights to be able to work on them and everyone's keeping safe around them.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Over all of this 9 years, have you had any training of professional development? What has it helped you, and how has it helped you grow?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been very lucky from someone that doesn't hold a university degree, has only got essentially GCSEs and A levels to my name, to actually go off and do numerous development training, whether that's via e-learning webinars through the Pipeline Industries Guild, excuse me, and also one thing I got put on in early 2020 was a introduction to into leadership and management. It was a level 3 course, diploma course, which was provided to, which was there's only a few people selected to do that within Cadent at the time, and I was one of the people selected to do it, and that enabled me to understand leadership and management in a completely different way. I think for me, when you've been managed and not necessarily been a manager, it's very, very easy to judge on how these people do things, and it's, we're all human. We all judge in some way, shape or form. However, when being assigned a mentor who's had vast experience within leadership and management, externally within the course provider, and them offering their insights to me on how to do this and how to do that, and how to approach things, and going through the course modules and learning about the different theories of leadership and management was really fulfilling, because it really enabled me to think about my next move, think about when's the next opportunity the right one, and if that does involve managing people, or if that involves managing a process or managing a project, I've got the right tools to go ahead and have the right development to be able to perform this, which is obviously ultimately why we're here, at the end of the day, is to do the best that we can and to continually develop. But for me as well, development's been freely on offer for me. A lot of people can approach me and say, well, Joe, I've had no training on this. And it's like, well, have you approached anyone to have any training on this? Have you expressed your concerns, about having no training, essentially, or have you had a quick research yourself, and essentially not been handed everything on a silver platter? Because for me, I've had to learn that along the way as well, that, not everything, has to be handed to you. Sometimes you have to work for it. If you want to find out something, it's a free world. Go ahead and find something out. And if that aids your development, then even better. So to summarise that question, I've been really blessed on having numerous amounts of development opportunities to better myself, which have challenged me, which have stimulated me, have scared me, to be quite honest, which have scared me, but it's been a good scare, because it's enabled me to push me to, to push me to my peak performance, and hopefully, give something good back.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to have a look ahead now. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, both in your career and potentially with the Guild?
That's a really good question. That's a really, really good question. Without looking at a silver ball, I would like to see myself within my career progressing to the next level. If I'm being honest, there's been times in my career where I've had to take a couple of steps back to move a couple of steps forward personally, which is for me the right thing to do. But for me, the next step for me is to, all being well, gain a land surveyor job full time, or work somewhere in the trading sector. That's sort of like my short-term goal, just to give back what's been freely given to me within the pipeline industry, really, to be honest. But my overall goal is to become a external affairs manager. So looking at how we influence policy within government and within national stakeholders, such as that, really, within the HSE, within Ofgem, and how we really get our agenda across, and moving into net zero, which is a pivotal time for the energy industry. I really feel that could be a great place to be, and where those challenges and those projects and those where that future really holds. So short term, looking to get more into progress more in my role and become more a land surveyor. Then long-term goal is to hopefully be an external affairs manager, is what I'd like to do. Within the Guild, I'd like to see myself progressing to be a national chair. I think that seems to be a really exciting role, meeting lots of different people, lots of key players within the industry, and who are key in that decision making within industry itself, but also to learn about different industries as well within who are associated within the Guild, like the water industry, like the telecoms, like your suppliers, because essentially this is an ever learning process for me, to get talking to people, understanding what they do, because as the Guild says, there's no one better connected when it comes to pipelines, and you never know when they may someone of my expertise, or when I may need somebody from their expertise, and that's what makes the Guild so special. So, as I say, for me, looking towards potentially a national chair or PDN chair to begin with would be fantastic, and it'd be a role which I'd embrace with both hands.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. So what have been the biggest benefits of being part of the Pipeline Industries Guild?
For me, the people are hugely supportive of you. They listen to you. They're able to work with you instead of working against you. There's no boundaries, and there's no boundaries to success within the Guild as well, which is fantastic. More benefits of working within the Pipeline Industries Guild is also looking at the array of development which is on offer, i.e. webinars from different people within different companies, some I've heard of, some I've not heard of. Understanding about a topic which you might be interested in or want to gather more of an interest on, or want to gather some more information on. The Pipeline Industries Guild seems to have it, which is absolutely fantastic. And one thing for me, I'm a bit old school like this. I like going to the competitions and going to the face-to-face meetings and face-to-face events. And I think one of the big standouts for me was organising the PDN Paper Competition for the Eastern Branch for this year, which was a fantastic event, which was run by a fantastic candidate as well, which was awesome. And it was really good to see firsthand that our industry is in great hands, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And it's also great to see younger people, even younger than me, coming in and doing their best and showing their passion for what they do. And I just hope and pray that continues within the Pipeline Industries Guild. But there's an array of different things which I'd be here all day talking about, really. But for me, it's all about that engagement, going and getting that continual learning about your topic of choice or other topics of choice which are beneficial to today's energies world.
Okay, great, thank you. So we're coming up to the end now. So the next one is, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self or to someone just starting out in the industry, what would it be?
Wow. I think for me, the biggest piece of advice I'd give to my younger self is to never give up. Don't give up, even when things are getting a bit tough. Within the workplace, within personally, and it comes into work and so on. Hang in there, never give up. And because there's been times in my career, when things have got really tough, personally and professionally, and I've just felt like throwing in the towel and just giving up and going away essentially. And I'm really pleased that I didn't do that, because I wouldn't be where I am today. And I've seen so many people, throughout my career who have, had a setback and haven't taken to that well and found it the right thing to do to step away. But that's, for me, that's a waste of talent. Let's embrace these people, give them the correct feedback which they deserve, and hopefully put them back on the right track. But that's the biggest bit of advice for me, is to stay humble, stay on the right side of the street. Know that there is a plan in the future. You may not know what that plan is, and sometimes it's okay to go against that plan as well. What I had planned when I was 18 years old, for example, was most likely not to be in the pipeline industry, to be quite honest. But here I am. I've made a career out of it, and I pray that continues, and I hope that career goes from strength to strength. But if I could tell my younger self that, would probably laugh in my face, to be quite honest. But as I say, for me, it's just stay on course, stay on track, be focused, be humble, and never give up, and always have a kind word to say about people. Because I think in this world, we're very used to putting the blame on other people and deviating to other people and not taking responsibility. But always have a kind word to say and be a people person.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. Well, that is summarizes everything beautifully. Thank you for sharing all your journeys with us. Before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add in terms of reflections or thoughts for our listeners?
I think in terms of reflections is that if anyone is struggling in their career or is in a bit of a standstill at their career, should I say, as I've just mentioned, just keep going, keep connected with your right people. Get yourself a mentor. I've got around 3 mentors who I'm communicating with, quite a lot of the time, who offer me some great advice, and they openly say to me, Joe, you don't need to take this advice if you don't want to take it. It's freely there on offer for you. But I do find that, by taking some time to reflect, taking some time to think about what these people have said or what's been said in the meeting, what's been said in a webinar, and how you shape that to mold you, has been fantastic. And some of I used to associate getting feedback really negatively, but now I associate all feedback quite positively, because I know that it's there to support me, and it's there to support my development, and it's there to support me with my career. So again, reflections really is, if you've not got a mentor, get yourself a mentor, get yourself a career plan, and it's okay to deviate away from that sometimes. And as I say, just stay humble, be willing to learn, and be willing to grab opportunities with both hands.
Brilliant. Well, I just like to conclude then our session today in terms of saying thank you very much to you, Joseph, for your time. I know it's over and above. As a member of the industry guild, Pipeline Industry Guild, you have your full-time job. So thank you very much for your time and sharing all your insights. It's been really useful. I hope it is to everybody else. And thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have any questions about Joseph or his career to date, then please email me at education@pipelineguild.com, and I can also pass it on to and open the channel for you to ask Joseph directly.